Good afternoon and welcome to our weekly press conference with head coach Tom Arth. This week, Akron is on the road at Northern Illinois on Saturday, October 26th. Kickoff is 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 2:30 Central, and will be carried on ESPN3. Coach, would you like to start with an opening statement?
Thanks, Kathy. Thank you, everybody, for being here. And I think just looking back a little bit at last week, was really proud of the way we played on defense. I think that was the best we've played all season long on that side of the ball. I was really excited for our team, for our defensive players especially. I thought that we really answered the call. On how we played on that side. And, they came out and they had a great drive. We're playing in a personnel grouping that we really hadn't prepared for, hadn't seen on tape yet. So they went down the field. They scored a touchdown. Our defensive coaches did a great job getting everybody to the sideline, making some adjustments, understanding, okay, what are they trying to do to attack us and play against us? We made adjustments. And I think really from that point going forward, played exceptionally well defensively against a very good offensive football team in Buffalo. So that was really exciting to see, and I think it was good to get a lot of young guys playing in that game. You look at on our defense. One of the really exciting things and encouraging things that we saw is that we had three true freshmen out there that played at a really high level. A.J. Watts, Julian Richardson, Bryce Wilson all played three really good games, probably their best games of the season. You look at a young guy like Julian Hicks as a sophomore who played great for us, out at corner, made a lot of really nice open field tackles, which was really good to see. And I think the same was true on offense. And Zach had a few turnovers. It was tough sledding for him out there. Was getting hit a lot, and unfortunately fumbled a couple times that led to scores. But I thought when we protected well, that he made some really great throws, some really great decisions. Even when we didn't protect as well, I thought he moved well in the pocket, bought some time, found open receivers, created some plays in some scramble situations that was really positive to see. Mike Matheson had another really good game for us. Julian Hicks, a sophomore, had his best game for us this season, and DeCavalon Reese, another sophomore who played really well. Unfortunately, was kind of battling some injuries, throughout that game. Had to go out once early in the game and came back, and then, unfortunately, did it again and had to be back out for the remainder of the game. But I thought he played really well and gave us a different look in the run game in terms of the physical nature at which he was running. How he was getting downhill, squaring up his shoulders to the line of scrimmage, and really running through contact. That was the big thing that I think we felt as a team, and that gave our sideline a lot of energy, gave our group a lot of energy. Was just DeCavalon was running through tackles, and he was really physical at the point of attack. So that was exciting for us to see, and hopefully it's something that we can build on as we move into the coming week.
Why is the defense coming together past couple games? And follow up on that. Is that the unit you're going to have to rely on to get that first win, do you think?
Well, I think, just to answer the second part of that question first, I think, the way that we always feel is that, you win because you're a great defense, and you become a great defense because of how you play as a team, and how you prepare and all those things. So I think that's always been very critical to our success is how we play on the defensive side of the ball. And I think that in college football today, I don't know if that's as common as it used to be. Most everybody is out there trying to just outscore their opponent, and we don't believe in that. We believe in holding people to low numbers, and I think the last couple weeks we've done a really good job of that. And I think that from a defensive perspective, I think we're certainly playing much better here these past couple of weeks, and it's hopefully something that we continue to do. But I do think it's we've kind of seen this. We've kind of been there, before. This is, really the third time, that I've, in my career as a head coach at, 3 different programs where we've installed this defense. And I think, you go back to 2013 and, really even in 2015 when we had a lot of new players playing for us on defense. And, first year in Chattanooga, first year here, like, we start playing really well that midway point to the end of the season on the defensive side, where our guys start to really understand how we play, what we do, why we do it, and get really comfortable, within that system. So, I hope that continues. I know the challenges just get greater for us every single week. Certainly with NIU and what they do offensively, but it's important to us. It's important to play great defense. We take a lot of pride in that. We put a lot of emphasis on that and how we build our program, how we structure our roster, how we practice, how we install. Everything we do is really designed around helping our defense play as well as they can play, and helping our quarterback play as well as he can play.
I hate to always keep bringing up this. Next game is the 4 games left. But how, from a roster management standpoint, for instance, Peter Hayes-Patrick was in the game this week. And I don't know if that was just a necessity because, other guys were hurt, or how much time do you guys spend going over this, or is this something that only the media like me worry about this time of the year?
Absolutely not. We spend a lot of time having those discussions as a staff, and being very aware of who's played, how many games they've played. You try to be as strategic as you can, with those 4 games. But as you mentioned, sometimes circumstances, dictate that somebody plays. And I think, wanting to get Pete some carries, but this past week it was a necessity. Really, having a lot of injuries at that position. Pete was that next guy for us, along with the Cavalon. So, I was excited for him. I thought Pete played really well. I failed to mention that, and you're talking about some of these young guys that are doing so well for us. I thought Pete came in and for his first opportunity and his first carries, I thought like the Cavalon, really played downhill and played physically, and it was really good to see. And I think the big thing, it's one thing to carry the ball, as a young guy. It's another thing to understand pass protection. It's another thing to understand just the passing offense, the routes, and combinations, and your role in that. So I think that's really where the development needs to continue to take place for those guys. But it is definitely something that we spend a lot of time talking about and trying to figure out the best way to utilize those 4 games. There's a few players in our program that haven't played for us yet that, in a lot of ways need to. They really, really need to. They're really good young players, and it's just, it's again, they're kind of key backups in some roles. So it's, it's kind of that, tough situation where it's like, all right, if you play them and, and there's 6 games left and you play them and somebody gets hurt, we need them the rest of the way, and we don't want to, so you try to be as smart as you can and try to take advantage of those opportunities in the best way possible.
You didn't have a lot of yards in the game, but again, you're getting into the red zone repeatedly. 3 or 4 times, and not able to come away. I know that's frustrating. I know you study that a lot as to what's going on down there.
Yeah, we do. And it is. And I think this past week we always meet. As an offensive unit, and we talk about the things we do well. We talk about the things that we didn't do as well, and what our corrections are. What were our coaching errors. Things along those lines, our preparation errors. But we typically focus on a lot of the positive. And I think this week, just kind of looking at how we played 2 weeks ago, how we played this past weekend, I thought it was really important that as a unit, as an offensive unit, that we look at what is it that's holding us back. We had probably a 10-play cut-up. And you look at these moments in the game, and what I really wanted our offense to see is that it's all mental. They're mental mistakes that are occurring, whether it's a false start, whether it's taking a sack, on a first down, whatever the case is, a busted play, a busted route, not getting aligned properly, whatever it is, they're all mental errors. A high snap. Whatever the case is, it's all mental. And as you look at it and you look at where are these occurring, they're all occurring in critical parts of the field. They're all occurring as we're getting down, approaching the red zone. So, I thought it was really positive. It wasn't a situation where we're looking at it and saying, okay, here's where, you guys are screwing this up, you're screwing that up. It wasn't that at all. It was like, this is how close we are. And this has nothing to do with our opponent. This has nothing to do with anybody that we're playing against. It has everything to do with us and just our ability to think clearly under pressure and to execute our responsibilities within our offense. And, part of it, too, was, hey, it wasn't just, hey, here's the mistakes you guys are making. I said, hey, here's the mistakes that I made. I'm out there, and at the end of the game, we're supposed to be in one personnel grouping. I call a different personnel grouping. We go out there, and we should be able to execute it in that grouping, but we weren't in the grouping that the call was designed to be in. There's another call early in the game, a third down in the red zone. I didn't like the call. I thought it was a bad call, on my part, and we ended up kicking a field goal that we missed on that, and I felt that there was a better call out there for our team in that moment. So it's just kind of just taking responsibility, and taking ownership for the mistakes that we make, and realizing that they're all mental, right? The mistakes that we made as players are mental mistakes. The mistakes I made are mental mistakes. And, we talk about our ability to focus and our ability to stay, to concentrate, through everything that we do. And I told the team, a story about Kobe Bryant, when really that Mamba mentality kind of came about. I think he was in 6th grade, and he was playing a game, and they were up 1. At the end, he was guarding a guy with the ball, and he's sitting there thinking, okay, about the celebration. And guy puts up the shot. He knows it's a bad shot. He runs in to get the rebound, doesn't block out. His man follows the shot, tips it in. They lose, right? So then the next day, he's sitting in geometry class, and teacher's teaching, and he's sitting there thinking about what he did wrong in the basketball game. And then, think about this. As a 6th grader, or whatever he was at the time, he's able to make that connection. He's able to make that connection and say, you know what? The same thing that happened to me on the basketball court last night is what's happening right now in this geometry class. I'm not thinking about what I'm supposed to be thinking about. And from that point on, he says, that's where he said, I am going to challenge myself in everything that I do, to stay locked in. And he used that geometry class to practice his ability to focus, to practice his ability to stay locked in every moment. And I think we all go through that. There's all, you guys are probably sitting out there right now, what's he talking about right now, and thinking about something else. It's human nature, right? I mean, I go through it too. We all do. It's part of it. So just understanding that, and understanding how challenging it is to stay focused. And we always relate it back to practice. For us, we relate it back to the classroom as well. But we relate it back to practice, and just talk about every rep, every period, whether it's individual, whether it's a ball security drill, whether it's a good on good, a GTHI, whatever it is, our focus, our intensity has to be there. And if it's not for that entirety of the practice, we're going to be in and out on Saturdays as well. So, we keep challenging ourselves that way, myself included, to be better, and to think clearly, in some of those critical situations. It's important for our success.
The dreaded, who's going to be your quarterback this weekend?
We're competing. We're competing.
Okay.
We're competing every week.
Fair enough. Is Cato's status the same as last weekend?
That's correct.
Okay. Whoever starts at quarterback, how do you protect him given what happened last week? And that offensive line, to be blunt, hasn't really improved that much throughout the season.
Well, I guess, I want to give a lot of credit to the pass rush of Buffalo. I don't want to, just say it was just, we haven't improved. I think that Buffalo has some really elite rushers, in this conference. And I know we've talked to some other coaches in the league, and, they felt the same way. And, we really thought we had a plan, to help our tackles and really, across the board, in the offensive line. And, they beat us. We lost some one-on-one situations. There were two plays in the game where they really kind of got us from a schematic standpoint. One, we made the wrong protection adjustment. The other, they brought a corner pressure across a slot that we just didn't see. But, other than that, it was more just, we lost some one-on-one battles. We didn't handle the twists well. And, again, they're really good players. And, and that was kind of what we talked to Trevor and Brandon about is like, hey, you know what? Like, they're really good, but so are you. You guys are big. You guys are athletic. You guys are really good football players. And, we need to play better, and we need to protect our quarterback. And that's certainly an emphasis for us going into this week. And looking at some things that we can do, as coaches to try to help that. But it's there's a fine line of the more guys you keep in, the more guys they're going to bring. The less guys you have out in routes. And, so you really try to find that balance of having a really sound plan, being able to have a protection plan that, really, puts your offense in best position to handle the pressures and their personnel that they play with. So I think that, this week's going to be a challenge again. I think this defensive front is very good. I think, you look at their two interior defensive linemen, they're probably, as good as any two interior players that we've gone against all season long. They're big, they're strong, they're physical, they're tough. They use their hands really well. So it's going to be a challenge for us. But I think we struggled in protection this past weekend, and by no means has that been a strength of our team. But I do think that we have improved in that area, giving up less sacks. And I think sometimes too is you got to realize it's not always the offensive line. There's issues from the running back position, issues from the tight end position, issues from the quarterback not getting the ball out, in some of those instances, and recognizing what's happening. So, it's really more of an offensive issue, than it is an offensive line issue. They obviously, bear the burden of that in a lot of ways, and we got to be better. There's no doubt about that. But, I know we're working at it, very hard this week.
Coach, I talked to you a couple of weeks ago about recruiting, and how soon do you think the program will be at 85 full? I know you have the number on that, and that's going to be tough to get to 85 in a year or two, or not?
Yeah, it will be. Really, you look at our roster right now. If we sign our max amount, 25 student athletes to scholarships this year, I think we'll be at 78. In the fall. So, I know there's discussions. I don't know where it's at, but I think there's discussions going on in the within the NCAA regarding the ability to increase that number and to whatever it is, a 50 over a 2-year average, not exceeding 35 in any single year. There's been all sorts of different ideas thrown out there because there are a number of programs that are in this same predicament, and you control what you can control, and the rules remain the same. We're going to go out and we're going to do our best to sign the 25 best players, best people who fit our program that we can, and we'll go out there and we'll play and we'll develop the players on our current roster and continue to develop the young guys and go sign the 25 best that we can, and we'll go. So but I do think I think it's a very good conversation that is being had, and I certainly wouldn't be opposed to something along those lines kind of going through.
Tom, I think normally in any sport, leadership is sort of looked at as somebody who's been there, older, juniors, seniors. But also, for Zach's standpoint, quarterback of a team, you're going to be a leader no matter what. So just what have you seen from him as he's sort of gone through this phase of, he wasn't really seeing a lot of time, then he gets in the UMass game. Now he's thrust into the starting role this past weekend. So just what have you seen from him from a leadership development standpoint and commanding that huddle out on the field and sort of being that leader for those guys, even though he is only a freshman?
All right. No, I think Zach has a great way about him that his teammates really relate to, and he's he brings a great enthusiasm, a great energy to our team. And I think it's just, it's consistency, for Zach. And, as we said, and we talked about this, he played so well against UMass and everything just seemed to go right. And we talked about, like, it's not always that way. And this past weekend was definitely, one of those instances where it's about as hard as it can be, from a, pressure standpoint, just, tough, moving the ball, like everything is, you're just fighting for everything that you have. And, I do think that Zach held his composure really well. I thought he remained calm. I thought he remained poised. Body language wise, I thought he did a pretty good job, a couple instances, but, for the most part, for a young guy, being in a situation like that, I was impressed and proud of Zach for that. And, I think it helps to talk about that before it happens and to realize, hey, like, everybody's looking at you. You step into that huddle, like, you got 10 sets of eyes looking at you, and they can feel the energy that you bring. They can feel how confident you are, and you gotta be that for this team. And I think that he did a good job with that this past weekend.
Is there any concern on your part about burning his 4 games?
I don't think that would be ideal. I certainly I don't think that would be in Zach's best interest. And I think you always you always want to think about each player in the program and what's best for them, in their future. But at the same time too, you have to be very conscious of what's best for your program, as a total. In this moment. So, we certainly don't have intentions of using Zach's red shirt this year, but we thankfully have a couple more games to play with. If he has opportunities to get out there and contribute, then we hope that he gets those 2 games. If not, then obviously we would redshirt.
What's the Cavalon status? He legitimately provided a spark last weekend, and an eye-opening spark given what your running game had been doing. Is he going to be able to play this weekend? Or no?
We hope so. He practiced today. So it's going to be just a progression for him. Hopefully he'll be able to do a little bit more tomorrow. It's really just kind of a non-contact day for DeCavalon. So hopefully, he'll be feeling even better tomorrow. But I do expect him to be able to play for us.
He wasn't on the preseason roster. I see he's from Benedictine. There's that Cleveland connection. Where did you find him?
Well, I remember watching DeCavalon, play as a high school student at Benedictine, and we loved them. We loved them at John Carroll, and knew we really didn't have much of a chance, to get him, but loved going out there watching him play, and that's why it was so exciting, over the summertime when Coach Z, kind of got word that DeCavalon was thinking about, coming home and wanted to come to Akron. It was really exciting. So, I'm glad he's here. He's a really tough kid. I love that he's from, Cleveland, love that he's a local guy. I think he understands, what football's about, in this part of the country. And I think he really reflects that. I think he reflects that in how he plays. He reflects the school that he comes from. Benedictine is, it's a really special place. I obviously didn't go to school there, but have had the opportunity to coach some great players from that program. And I have so much respect for that school and, what they do and what they instill in the young men that go there and the type of players that come out of there. They're a lot like DeCavalon, just tough and gritty and, find a way to be successful.